Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at the new Klein 3/8 sockets that they came out with, that they are calling their grab and go sockets. These are impact sockets. They come with an impact adapter. And I picked up a set, thought we would just take a look at them and see how they are. If you're keeping track, these are made in Taiwan. Alright, so taking a look at this, these are pretty nice. They have a pretty robust rubber holder. They have a notch in it here to put your carabiner in. And let's just see how that looks. Just like that. Not too bad. They are held pretty well, actually. To get them out is a little bit of a fight, I gotta say. So they have they're color coded, and if you can see in here, there is a kind of like a detent that you gotta work the sockets out of. So that's actually pretty good so that the sockets don't fall out. That's a good way of doing this, and it just seems like if you rock them back and forth a little bit, you can get them out, maybe launching them across the shop if you don't have a good hold on it. So let's get them all out here. Flexing that to get the piece out. Now we have the whole set out, and if you take a look, these have that nice coloring and struck in and filled with white lettering that we saw on the 1-inch drive sockets. Now that is pretty nice. I really like that because these, if you beat them up, throw them around, you will be able to see that color, and if the white all wears out, you could take yourself a paint marker and renew it. Half-inch, here's the 9. Pretty nice. If you look at how, we'll look at one of the bigger ones. 5/8 has the purple. Looks kind of blue under this light, but that is kind of a purple. 11/16. They're all struck with that and painted in. And the 3/4. Now if we look here at the 3/4, you can see they have that relief in them that all the other sockets had, so you're not point loading the fastener. And overall, I'd say these are pretty nice sockets as far as they go. They do have the hole straight through, so if you're running old school stuff that pins into place, you are in good shape with these. One way around that is you could drill the socket yourself, but these do all have that pass through, which is nice. You can see here everything has about the same size lettering, so that when you look at them, everything is reasonably the same. And looking at our 3/8 drive, this is that same nice one that we said in other videos should have been included in a few of the other sets. This is a pretty nice 3/8 adapter for a 1/4-inch hex impact, and I'd say overall this is pretty nice. You can see that the 11/32 is missing, but for this sort of thing, I don't know if that's really a big deal. I think that's more of something that when you're working with nut driver style tools, I'd like to see the 11/32 impacts. I don't know. But I can say, if you're a new guy starting out in the trades, and if you're going to buy yourself sockets, I would go with impact sockets. Doesn't have to be these, could be any number of what's out there. Your Tectons, your Sun-X, you could even go tool truck if you wanted to, but I would strongly suggest getting some sort of impact sockets for your first set. You can use these on anything. You can take a regular ratchet and use these sockets with whatever you want. You don't have to worry about damaging your fasteners. These are chromoly, so they're decent quality metal. They should hold up a little bit better than your vanadium or anything like that, but that's one of those things that I would really suggest to somebody starting out. They're a little bit heavier wall. They're designed just a little bit more robustly for usage in impacts, and you can always go backwards and use them in your ratchet, hand ratchet that is. So just something for what it's worth. If you're starting out, you don't have a lot of money to spend or anything like that, between the two sets, I would suggest going with the impact set, just because it gives you the most versatility, bang for the buck, and they are more robust. They'll take more abuse. If you have a good set of chrome already, hey, go with them. But if you got nothing and you're starting out, I would say some sort of impact rated. Doesn't have to be these. This is a decent set. I think I'm going to throw these in the work carry and we'll see how they hold up. It's something that should be relatively handy. I tend to favor deep sockets over shallows, but when you need a shallow socket, you need a shallow socket. There's always those instances where a shallow socket is going to be better than a deep socket. Okay, so just for fun, I thought I would get out the other sockets that came with the screwdriver set that we looked at, that we said this adapter is what's kind of needed to go with a few other tools. Now I think I said an 11/32 would have been nice in this set, and that was purely because it's driven towards being a nut driver substitute set. All that aside, looking at how the sockets are made, it looks like it's a different manufacturer. You can see the new sockets have that ring that's indented. I don't know if you can kind of pick that out or not, but where it's painted green is inset from the rest of the socket, which gives it a different shape. And even like the 9/16 here in the original set, you can see they aren't passed through, so you can't pin them onto a tool, and they are just laser etched. So you may want to engrave these at some point when the laser etching starts coming off. They aren't color coded or any of that. So these sockets, I'm going to assume, are made by the same place that's making the 1-inch drive, or the 1/2-inch drive sockets, the deeps that we took a look at. And these are pretty nice. I think if you're going to get sockets, these are contenders. I'd like to see 3/8 deeps come out, and maybe they could get them up to, whatever size. We'll see. 1-inch would kind of be handy, but we'll see what they come out with. So I'm seeing an improvement on vendors here. They're Taiwanese made, still all the same, but the quality, fit and finish is pretty nice. These sockets are definitely better quality than the 3/8 sockets we saw in that other set, so an improvement is a good thing to see. So I think overall I like the way the set is made. It's compact enough. They're kind of going after what Railer was doing with the carabiner holder for your bits, something that holds the bits good and secure, and you can put your bits somewhere other than getting lost inside of your bag. You can kind of hang stuff on the side with the supplied carabiner. Kind of a nice thing. We'll see how the sockets hold on this. I think it's going to be interesting. The carabiner that they sent with it is made of aluminum. It's very light. It says tool use only on it. But it has some nice features. It'll align itself like that. And it's a decent size that you could hook over some decent sized things. It is a little grabby, but this is rubber, so I don't know what you would expect. It's not too bad. And I think everything goes in relatively well. Let's reload it here. It snaps in relatively decent. If you're putting the quarter in, they push in pretty well. They're not too hard to put in, and I would assume this is going to be one of those things, the more you use it, the more easily it works. And there may be some tricks to utilizing these that will become evident after you play with them a little bit. So, getting this all back together goes relatively easily. And I think it's just going to be one of those things that if you go to use them, pull them up and pull them out. It's not too hard. Or can you pull them? Yeah, I think pulling away and up is your trick. So you can kind of see the colors through the housing. Overall, I don't think that's a bad setup. Now you might be wondering, that's all well and good, it has this fancy hanging hook here, but how much weight am I adding to my boat anchor of a tool carry? And the answer to that would be 19.3 ounces, which, considering their sockets, isn't really all that bad. So I think it'd be fair to say that it's not an exorbitant amount. The space isn't heavily wasted in nesting these in here. I think they have a pretty decent range of things that you can work with. Let me know in the comments below, would you get a set of these? I honestly, I kind of like them. And the heavily marked inset bold white letters for the sizing is something that's won me over on these. I think that's something that, for the long term of owning a tool, that is something that's going to be really good to have. The color coding may wear off. It is inset there pretty well. It may hold up, it may not. But I really do kind of like the way these are made. Other than that, I'd say they're just your average run-of-the-mill shallow depth 3/8 drive impact sockets. There's nothing really fancy about them. If the carabiner weight or attachment thing here is something that you're not interested in, I think there's other sets out there that might better suit what you're looking for. Impact sockets are kind of impact sockets. I know that's a bit subjective and maybe a little controversial, but I've had some real cheap ones that I've never broke. You know, some 1/2-inch drive stuff that I've used very hard over the years and I never had any problems. I can't think of any impact socket that I've ever broke using it the right way. I've broken adapters, but never sockets. If this fancy hanging arrangement is very appealing to you, then I do believe this may be one of the only options for you out there at this point that has something like this, and you may want to consider it. If the fancy white letter markings are something that really appeal to you as well, that's something that you might want to consider as well. That's just stuff that the color coding, the fancy markings, all of those things are things that I guess are a little unique to this set at this time. We may start seeing other manufacturers do similar things. Let me know in the comments below if there are other sets that have these markings and color coding. I didn't really go through the overall market to see what's available. I'm just making a blind comment, which is what it is. So overall, I think I'm relatively impressed. This is not as flimsy as I thought it was going to be. It's relatively easy to get the adapter out, so if you're using your hex impact, and I think that's the thing, 3/4 is probably the cutoff of what you're going to be comfortable using with your hex impact gun. I don't think you're going to get a whole lot more than 1/2-inch fasteners out of that. And I know those things have more power now than they used to, but that's probably a reasonable cutoff. And for driving Tapcons or anything like that, you pretty much have everything covered here. So I think this is pretty nice and versatile for the general usage, other than the 11/32 that I always go on about. So let me know in the comments below, would you buy this? Do you have this? Do you like it? Did you break it already? Do the sockets fall out and you lose them? Those are things I like to know. Do you find them hard to get out? This is new yet, so I don't want to really rag on it, saying that, hey, these aren't the easiest to get out. It's one of those things where it's new yet, and they should be relatively hard to get out. Otherwise, they're going to fall out and you're going to lose them. So those are all things that are compromises when you throw something like this together. I think it's an interesting concept, and I'll be curious to see how it holds up with the work carry. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.